Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Darkstone Dossiers with your host, Anthony Darkstone.
Hello and welcome to everybody. And this is the point in which I say good evening, good afternoon, and good morning. You've probably seen some of the information and posts on here that we've done and the promo for my guest tonight. Before I actually introduce her, I would like to introduce a gentleman to you. We refer to this gentleman as most illustrious. Why do we do that? Well, for those of you who don't know, it is the official title of the president of the Society of American Magicians. So, ladies and gentlemen, most illustrious Dr. Joel Zaritsky.
Hey, everybody. How's it going? I'm actually wearing my International Assembly shirt today, which I bought in Dublin, Ireland. So I'm supporting the team here. Thanks, Anthony.
Not at all. Thank you, most illustrious. When he spoke about International Assembly, as some of you may know, and in fact, I'm delighted to see that we have some of our members here, and indeed our representatives from Finland, etc. The International Assembly is basically an assembly for the Society of American Magicians, and it has members from different countries all over the world. So you don't have to be an American to join the Society of American Magicians. If you go to the website, magicsam, MAGICSAM.com, and click on the button that says International Assembly, it'll give you a whole bunch of information. It's a worldwide organization like IBM or the Magic Circle, etc. Let's just get to the show today. I first met my guest at an IBM British Ring convention. The then president of, at the time, John Pye, invited me to come over and do a talk show, in which I had Michael Finney, Jason Andrews, Joe Turner, and Sean Farquhar as my guests. Between all of that, I was wandering into a corridor, and I attempted to steal someone's wallet. Somebody took a picture of that. I don't know if we can bring it up big on the screen. Yeah. Now, some of you folks would recognize who this wonderful gentleman was. Was the greatest. I think he's kind of retired now. And next to him was my guest. And that's when we first met at that convention and chatting. So there's a fun pic of me trying to steal something out of his pocket from the greatest pickpocket act in the world. It's just funny. So I just thought I'd put that up. But it's relevant because that's where I met my guest. And it's a good time now, having said that, to introduce you to my absolutely delightful, and I mean this in every sense of the word, she is a delight, and you'll find out she is. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together and welcome Romany.
Thank you, Anthony. That's Mark Raffles, isn't it? I love Mark Raffles. If no one knows who Mark Raffles is, then Google him. He's the most amazing and wonderful gentleman. And he's now about, is he 100 yet? He's like 99 or something. He's fantastic.
Well, almost. I think he's about ready for a telegram from Her Majesty the Queen. Yeah,
right.
When I meant that in a nice way. He's sort of retired now.
I know, but I just have to tell you something. So Mark Raffles is really famous for an act with his late wife, where he used to produce all different coloured poodles, and he used to do colour changing poodle, white poodle into a black poodle. And his wife had this amazing big dress with all poodle stuff down it. And I had just got a dog called Bongo after Ali Bongo. And I thought, great, I can make poodles appear. So I was trying to get information out of Mark Raffles, and I said something like, do you put the poodles like head down? He said, don't be so bloody stupid. and that was all he told me. That was it. I never did that.
Yes, I know. You had this lovely, lovely dog called Bongo, as you said, named after dear Ali Bongo. He even had his own Facebook page at one time.
Yeah, he had lots of fans.
Yeah, a lot of fans. Let's talk a little bit about you and your kind of. I know you've sort of been in showbiz since you were in diapers, nappies for those who are watching in England. She's just the epitome of showbiz, and I thought the best way of kind of introducing you to people, rather than me just telling them how wonderful you are, let them see it. So, ladies and gentlemen, here's a clip of showing you this remarkable lady, better than I can ever say. brief taste of the incredible, amazing career of this marvelous lady. Now, the more astute amongst you would have noticed that it said MIMC with gold star at the magic circle. For those of you who don't know, there's only about 300 people who have that in the world, and just a handful of women. So talk about breaking the glass ceiling. Romany did that. You may have also noticed, in fact, there was a picture of her with Prince Charles. Prince Charles happens to have an MIMC with a gold star because he is also a member of the Magic Circle. And he had to pass an exam. He did the cups and bowls, and it's in the Magic Circle Museum. So I'm going to shoot over to Romany and ask her to tell us a little bit about that time where you met Prince Charles and chatted and you did a Royal Command performance.
It's funny how in my cruise ship show, which I've been doing lately, I go through the whole show and I tell everyone about dreams and things. And I say, but sometimes things happen that you didn't even dare to dream about. And I tell the truth. And I said, one Tuesday morning near Christmas, I got a phone call and a rather posh voice said, could you come to the palace and do a show? And I said, yeah, who for and which palace? And they said, for His Royal Highness, Prince Charles at St. James's Palace. And could you do 15 minutes? Well, as most of you know, it's quite hard to do 15 minutes. You know, it's easier to do half an hour or 45 minutes. And I said, I think they said, actually, can you do 10 minutes? I said, could I do 20 minutes? And they said, yes. Now, no one mentioned a price, which was good because the royal family do not pay. So even though Penn and Teller performed the year before, they also didn't get paid. No one gets paid. But of course, I said yes and put the phone down. And it was like, I mean, I never dreamed that I'd ever be performing for royalty. It's a big thing. And then the next thing I did was to look up the stage of the last year, and I saw that it was quite a small stage because I think they'd had a stand-up performer. And so when I phoned back, I said, look, I need a stage, which is, I think I said 4 meters by 4 meters. And they said, fine. And when I got there was this beautiful stage, 4 meters by 4 meters, all in pink silk with a pink silk backdrop. And on either side were pink and silver balloons. So they'd done it all in my colors. And in front of me, it was a party for, I think, 250 of their staff and friends. And I looked at it and they're all golden chairs. And I thought, I wonder where, you know, Prince Charles and the Duchess of Cornwall, Camilla, will be sitting. And I saw in the middle, there were 2 gold chairs with arms and cushions, because that's what you get if you're royal. And the thing was, I usually get really nervous about shows, but I didn't really get nervous about this show because I thought that the royal family are always very polite and gracious. And I imagined that even if you were rubbish, they would sit there and go, you know. But, oh, that's the thing. Before I started, they came up to me and they said, we know that you get tied up by 2 men. We want you to use the head of security and the head of police. They were both there, the head of British police and the head of the royal security. And I was like, oh, okay. But I said yes, and luckily it was fine. And of course, as we know, it doesn't matter who ties us up, we can get out of it. And it was just really fun. But I was a little bit maybe unprofessional. I thought, this is my moment. And I did 30 minutes. I thought, well, you know, and it was just really fun. And then afterwards, I was backstage. Backstage was just a very posh room with, you know, amazing portraits, with golden portraits and things. And I was just I was quite sweaty and I was just sort of damping myself down. And someone ran in and said, quick, they want to meet you. And I was like, oh, and so I followed them running, sprinting down the corridor, you know, past these portraits of, you know, long forgotten kings and queens. And I got there next to the band that had been playing. And I thought, what am I going to say? But you don't need to worry, because the thing that the royals are really professional about, their gig, is they know what to say. And so Camilla came along and she said, I suppose you travel quite a lot with your work. That was easy to answer. And then Prince Charles came along and he said, you know, and he really speaks like you think he speaks, you know, I was awfully nervous that you were going to get me in the tunnel of love. And I said, I wanted to, but I wasn't allowed. And he said, I like it very much when you do this. And I said, sir, And then we had a good old laugh, and he was just really nice. And then he was off. But when the royals speak to you, you feel like you're the only person in the world. That's what they do really well. They're like, and then they're to the next person. But it was really nice. But then, so the marvelous Etienne Pradier, who's a great French magician who lots of you will know, he was the one that got me the gig. He gets this gig. And he had another French magician called Pierre Manu Illusioniste. He was also there. And afterwards, they invited me to dinner. And so there I was, and they had another friend, 3 gorgeous French magicians. And I had the time of my life. And so it was like the most amazing evening. And very sadly, Pierre Manu Illusioniste died last week at the age of 55. He died of a heart attack. And it reminds me of what an amazing time that was, and also how much we have to absolutely take every day, because, you know, we didn't know that 2 years later, he wouldn't be with us. So it was both amazing and now a bit bittersweet.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed, yes. Well, speaking of people who kind of make you their whole world and speak to you, we have the honor, he's no longer with us, respect and RIP to him, and may his memory be a blessing. This remarkable gentleman, and many of us have met him, others like myself and you have got to spend more time than other people with him, which was a great blessing. And he had this amazing ability of making you feel that you were the most important thing in the world.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure you have a pretty good idea who I'm talking about. Let's pull up his picture. I can't possibly do his voice, but it's the magic beard. What do you want your magic to be? There he is. Let's pull it up on screen so everybody can see it. Talk to us a little bit about you and the lovely times with dear Eugene.
Well, as you said, Eugene is one of those people that everybody loved, and that when he passed, everyone competed to say that he was their best friend. And Ali Bongo was the same. So you know that, you know, everyone was competing to say, no, Ali was my friend. No. And same with Eugene. So Eugene, when I first met him, first of all, I met him because I went to FISM in Dresden. Now, this was my very first year of magic. I'd gone to live with a German juggler I married in Hamburg. I was trying desperately to learn magic, but it was before the internet. And when I went to the magic circle in Germany, they literally wouldn't show me anything. And I was desperate, so I went down to FISM. And I even slept in my car outside the convention centre because I didn't have any money. I slept in my car and I cleaned my teeth in McDonald's. But I got a free FISM because I wrote to them and said, would you like me to translate? Because I could speak a few languages. And they said yes, and gave it to me for free. So there I was one of the girls with a waistcoat. And my job was to stand outside the lectures and watch the queue coming in, open the door. But what I did, I stood outside the lectures, I watched the queue, and as soon as they said open the door, I took off my blue waistcoat and ran in and sat down the front. And that was when I met Eugene, because he was lecturing. And his lecture was, you know, the most important thing that I probably ever learned in magic. He talked about, he said, if you go and see a Dolly Parton concert, you will laugh and cry, and you know, you will give an audience a variety of emotions. And the next time I got to see him was when I went to the Jeff McBride, the mystery school in Santa Barbara. And I went there, complete novice magician. I tried my hardest to do magic and I couldn't do it at all because I didn't have any teachers and there wasn't the internet. And so I'd put together this act that I couldn't do. And so I performed it in front of all the people there, work in progress. And I said, well, you have to imagine, I can't do any of the magic, but you have to imagine it. And they thought I was joking until I didn't do any magic and they realized I wasn't joking and they fell about laughing. But the next day, Eugene came up to me and I was eating my lunch. And he said in his deep voice, he said, my dear, you have something that most magicians haven't got. He said, you have stage presence and charisma and you have a character. And then off he went. And I stopped eating because to me, that was such important encouragement. And then from that point on, he never stopped encouraging me, always encouraging me and then the final thing that happened before he passed was that I have a friend called Christopher Howell, who you might see and look him up, who's I think called Norville and Josephine, a really good performer, who's a great friend of mine. And he said, Romany, if we did a threesome at the castle, who would be the person you would have as your ideal other person? And I said, well, Eugene, of course. But he won't do it with us because he's a really big star. And why would he? And Christopher said, I've just read this book about asking big enough questions that you collect no's. So why do we ask him? And we're friends of him, but, you know, still a big ask. And we wrote this letter to Eugene saying, Eugene, we absolutely understand that you're a really big star and you probably don't want to do it. And we completely understand if you don't, but would you? And he wrote back and he said, I'd love to. And so we were going to do a 3-hander at the Magic Castle. And then sadly he passed. But that was Eugene, just love. He was such a loving guy.
That was Eugene. And of course, absolutely. We have to, in fact, talk about two people that are mutual friends of ours. One of them, the lady, is actually perhaps more of a friend of mine because we share a mutual love of esoteric things and magic, of course, yes. And so her husband's a pretty cool guy as well. I think we've got a picture of him up here. People may have just heard of him. Yes, I think most people will recognize who that is. Yes, the chap in the middle with the two gorgeous girls on either side of him. If you don't know who that is, you really shouldn't be watching this show. And of course, the lady with the sunglasses is dear, dear, lovely, sweet Abby, who was going to try her best to be here with Jeff. They may well be here. I don't know. I'm not monitoring who's in and who's out. But that's a lot. Share with us some of your times with Jeff, the fire circles, the mystery school, because I know you loved it. Transmit, share some of that love that you enjoyed.
So there I am in Germany. I can't do any magic. And the thing was, for the first 2 years of my magic career, I didn't know about classic tricks. I just had these really big ideas for acts, these beautiful acts. And then I went out to buy props to try and make it happen. Like I wanted to pluck a glass ball out of the air and blow on it and have a goldfish inside. And you know, I didn't know how to do that. I mean, it's pretty hard anyway. So I wasn't getting anywhere. And then I went to the women's convention in Hollywood or something. And Luna Shimada mentioned Jeff McBride. And I don't know why. And all the hairs on my arm stood up. And I wrote in big red letters in my notebook, go see Jeff McBride. It was like a, go see Jeff McBride. I didn't know why. But I got all the money necessary. And I was a street performer at the time. So I didn't have any money. So I got together £1,000 or whatever it was needed and went over to the mystery school. And at that mystery school, there was, Eugene Berger, Jeff McBride, Just Allen, Dan Harlan, Abby, so many people. And that was the first place where people encouraged me and said, if you want to make a silk turn into an egg looking rice, or not in rice, but, look somewhere, tarbell. And then I kept going back. And then I was at a masterclass in Amsterdam, and Jeff in the bar said, hey, you should come to Fire Dance. I was like, okay. And so I packed my tent, and I'm English, so we had a very small mat and a very small tent, and I went all the way to the forest in Santa Cruz. Didn't know what it was going to be, and then there was 250 people. Now, Paul Harris was there, Dan Harlan was there, Musto, Jeff and Abby, Tobias Beckwith, lots of people, and then a whole bunch of poets and singers and dancers, and it was the most magical thing I've ever been to. And it's not everyone's cup of tea, but it was mine. And that's what Eugene used to say. Do you remember? He used to say, it may not be everyone's cup of tea, but it is mine. And I had a big dream. I had a dream to have an act. I didn't have an act, but I had this dream. And around the fire, you can dance your wishes. Well, that's what I was doing. So I sprinted around that fire for like a week, for 12 hours a night, wishing, I want an act, I want an act, I want an act, I want an act. And then I just kept going back to Jeff to learn from him. And I always had these crazy ideas for acts, which actually didn't really come to anything. And that's, I'll tell you about that later when we talk about the book. But it was an amazing time. It was an amazing, magical time. And Eugene was there as well, of course. Well, not at Fire Dance, because he wasn't really a camper. He liked a hotel.
Understandable. Now, you spoke about that and said, it's a very English way. Now, if those people who don't know you look, wow, she's great, she's full of energy and pumped up on the screen, etc., whatever. But there is a side to you where you actually have a degree in English literature and English language. You took that degree some years ago, I think. Manchester, was it, if I remember rightly?
Yeah. Yeah.
It- it-
But you know
so
what? The only reason I took that was because I wasn't allowed to be a dancer. So I wanted to be a dancer. Who doesn't want to be a dancer? So, I didn't get to do that. So what my parents were born poor, they wanted me to be the first person in the family to go to university. And I wanted to do drama, but there wasn't a place for drama. So I did English honours and Italian and have never used it since. Completely. I can speak Italian, but I know I don't.
You of course played the castle. You've been on Penn and Teller on the English as opposed to the American version, and as we saw in the clip with Jonathan Ross. But you actually, from someone who didn't know very much about anything, won what I consider to be an amazing award, and that was the Golden Lion.
Yeah.
Siegfried and Roy.
Yeah.
And the only other person I know two people. One is Valerie in France, and the other is dear Walter Blaney down in Kingswood, Texas, who's got that. And it comes with a nice check of 5,000. So here's a ridiculous kind of question, but I'll ask it anyway. What on earth does it feel like, A, to be called up to get this and then be given a check, and people kind of going, is it for real? Is it Photoshop? What is it? It's for real. I know it's for real, right? Tell us about your emotions and things going through your mind.
So I always held Siegfried and Roy in great respect, and then I was watching their San Molti, their film about how they came from Germany and they became the kings of Las Vegas. And they had what I wanted. They had an amazing magic act. And I didn't have it. I really wanted it. And so I had this odd idea that it's such an odd idea. At the time, it seemed like a good idea, but it's a bit of a weird idea. At the time, I thought if I can only get near them and touch them, some of their magic will rub off on me. Now, this is a weird idea, but if you go back to the Bible, there's a story about this woman who's suffering, and she says, if I can just get near Jesus and touch his cloak, I'll get some of his power. So there's a precedent for this. And I had this weird idea, if I could just touch them, then their magic would rub off on me and I could finally get the act of my dreams. And so when I get a weird idea in my head, I act on it. So I bought a ticket for the Palladium where they were doing a show, but I could only afford Up in the Gods, and the magic dust didn't reach up to me and the gods. And then I thought, well, how am I going to meet them? And I thought, well, if I enter the Las Vegas magic competition, even if I'm crap, they would definitely come backstage and say hello, and that would be that. And I imagined it was like FISM. I thought there'd be hundreds of people going in for it, at least 100, at least 50. And that's what I'll do. That was my idea. And so I wrote to the organizer, which I think was Bill Smith at the time, maybe, and said, can I enter? And he said, you can have the last of 7 places. I was like, oh, sugar. And then I looked up who the rest were. It's Jason Andrews of America.
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was, but they were all like the champions of their countries, Korea. Now, I at the time was Magic Circle Stage Magician of the Year, but I'd won on comedy, really, not technical ability. But I thought, well, no, never mind, I'm still going to do it. So I practiced. But also, I practiced, and I visualized, and I photoshopped my face on a photograph. I think it was Raphael from Belgium. He'd won it the last year. And so I got his photograph, but I photoshopped my face on his face and put it up on my studio. And then I walked in the woods with Bonga, my dog, going, I won, feeling the feelings as if I'd done it already. And I just kept this going until 2 weeks beforehand. And someone wrote and said, you do know there's no fire in the New Orleans showroom. No fire, no lighter, no flash to diamonds, no flashing, nothing. And half my act was fire. And I said to my friends, what am I going to do? They said, you're going to have to do that comedy trick with 4 coins and 2 guys. Now, I wasn't going to talk, but I couldn't do anything else. So this is how the magic happened. When I did it, I went down to the audience, picked 2 guys, they ran up, but then one of them obviously wasn't very fit and collapsed on all 4s, breathing really heavily. Like, they cut the music. Can you imagine? There's like 1,000 magicians. It's the World Magic Awards. They cut the music. He's going. A ring of 10 people surround him. I'm standing there going, "Oh my God, I killed him," And then finally he gets up. But I say to him in character, "Now look, you've taken up quite enough of my time. Are you going to stay or are you going to go?" And he says, "Oh, stay." Big cheer goes up because everyone's like, oh my God, big cheer goes up. And after that, everything I did was just comedy gold. It was just so funny. And as I walked off, I thought, I've won this. And it seemed to me that as if magic had clicked in and helped me, because I wasn't going to win on technical ability. You know, all my technical stuff actually worked, but still, Jason Andrews is pretty good, right? So,
Yeah.
and that's what happened. So I think the angels, you know.
Well, it's what you were saying earlier on. I think, you were saying before we actually came on backstage, where you and I, Anthony, are not normal, because we do kind of believe in that esoteric stuff and linking with the universe. Who else would put a photograph of yourself on the previous winner and kind of go, yeah, that's going to be me, that's going to be me? Because these things can manifest themselves. And I don't mind if people laugh at me, but I totally believe in that. If you think it and you desire it, hard enough, it happens. And of course, you mentioned about Stage Magician of the Year at the Magic Circle. You've been on the cover of the Magic Circular. You've been on the cover of Vanish magazine. All these marvelous things that you've done. What I want to move to now, in fact, as we were talking more about esoteric matters, is show you a picture of two pipes at a particular location. Let's see if we can bring that up. Those are my pipes. One is a ceremonial one. The other one is my personal one. Do you recognize the place? It's a little bit of a teaser for you. Do you recognize it?
Well,
okay, let me pull up the other picture and show you. Pull up the other picture. We'll get the other picture up and you for sure know it. Okay, we're just going to get the up there. Of course you knew it. Yes. If you bring up the picture nice and large.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, of course you do. There's the kind of fire pit where you saw the pipes. I was just playing with you a little bit. I'm going to just talk a little bit about this. I mean, very little, because I've had wonderful experiences there with another mutual friend of ours who I love dearly, Samina in Vegas, as you know. And of course, Luna was there on that particular day as well, Luna Shimada, and she brought a wolf. So we were in that. Now, I know you went to Sekhmet, and can I just quickly tell people, not the one in Egypt, but this is about 26 miles as the crow flies off the strip. It's on Shoshone land. But we'll talk about the history afterwards in the meet and greet. But I want you to talk about your first time at Sekhmet, how you felt, what it meant to you.
Yes, I was trying to look for the picture. Oh, I've got it. Trying to look for the picture. Hold on. Oh, quick. So can you see? Oh, hold on.
Ah, it's in the book. Yes.
Yeah, the picture of Sekhmet.
Yep.
So it's just, I mean, life is so weird. I've never heard of Sekhmet before I met Jeff McBride, but I really wanted to be in America because I'd been in America performing and I wanted to stay there performing. And so at one of the fire circles, I said there was a priestess and she had purple hair called Errol. She had one leg and purple hair. And I went up to her and said, how am I going to stay in America? And without even thinking, she said, you should go and get the water from the well in Glastonbury and bring it to the temple for Sekhmet. And I went, oh, okay. And I then went back to England. A week later, I got an invitation to go to Glastonbury. Now, Glastonbury is a very sacred site in England. There's a well. Yep. I mean, I didn't know there was a well. I didn't know there was water at the well. But nevertheless, I got an invitation to go to Glastonbury. And then this was the story. We were staying with some friends and I was cleaning my teeth. I'm on this pilgrimage to get the water from the well. Even to me, this is weird, to give to Sekhmet. I'm cleaning my teeth. I look down in their bathroom and there's a statue of Sekhmet. Now, no one's heard of Sekhmet. Sekhmet's pretty obscure. And I run downstairs and said, there's a statue of Sekhmet in your bathroom. And they said, yeah, we're followers of Sekhmet. I'm like, but I'm on a pilgrimage to get the water. They're like, yeah. Anyway, the next day, it was my birthday, and I went to the well, and I got a bottle of water. It's like holy water, apparently. It's like Lourdes. Who knew? You get a bottle. Yeah. And then, but it was 3 years later, and I remember that I hadn't given the water to Sekhmet, so I quickly booked a flight to Las Vegas. I booked a tutorial with Jeff McBride, because the week later was the Magic Circle competition. And I thought, I'll go to Sekhmet. And then I took the water to Sekhmet, and I had these prayers I'd written down. I think the prayers were something like to have a wonderful act that makes people laugh, to find a partner and to have a happy home. And I burnt these prayers, like, you know, because I was a Catholic, and us Catholics, we know our rituals. And I had a session with Jeff McBride, and then I flew home. And like a few days later, I performed the Magic Circle and I won. And I was astounded. I nearly dropped the bronze trophy. I was so surprised to win. And I went into the dressing room and I literally picked up the phone and called Jeff McBride. Now, in those days, it was expensive to do that. It wasn't like free like this. And he wasn't there, but Abby came on. I said, Abby, I've just won the Magic Circle Magician of the Year. I said, I just asked Sigma, do you think she fixed it? And Abby just laughed and hung up. And I was like, who knows? I mean, there's just more things in life, isn't there? But you know something, Anthony? This is the thing that I so want to talk to the world about, because my experience, now I'm 50, is that when you set your intention and then you just say, right, I want this. I think this is a good idea. And then you let it go. Then the universe puts all these wonderful, usually quite funny things in your path that you couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine this poor guy would nearly have a heart attack and therefore I would win. I couldn't, there's so many things that I couldn't imagine.
Absolutely, because as you say, I'm probably one of the world's most iconoclastic and skeptical people. But having said that, I do have, like you and Abby and Samina, this very strong leaning to, shall we say, the more mystical, esoteric side of things. And you are so right that you're proof of it, I'm proof of it. If you just ask, you're given the tools. Right. Unlike kind of going, well, I want this, can I have it? No, it's not your right. You ask and you're given the tools and you have to do the work, like the digging, or in your case, get a chainsaw and cut the wood, which you do, I know.
I know. And isn't it that you make a wish, but you take one step towards it, but then usually you're helped. But you have to take a step towards it, and you get, it's a bit like a GPS. It's like, if you're sitting in your car and you want to go somewhere, if you don't set off, the GPS can't tell you where you're going wrong. But if you set off, even if you go the wrong way, it can go, no, make a U-turn. And yeah, life's really like that. I think as magicians, that's our job. What I think as magicians, if we don't tell people about magic, what's the point? It's good to make a card trick. But I think the world is so magical, and that our job as magicians is to tell people about it.
Well, I think Shakespeare phrased it very, very well in Hamlet, Prince of Denmark, when he said, there are more things between heaven and earth, Horatio, than I dreamt of in your philosophy. And you know what? Some of us have actually discovered that line to be true. Because like you were saying, I mean, I'm not going to go into it here, but, opposite, what I'm talking about, opposite the Magdalene Grotto, there's the well in Glastonbury, and up there is the Tor, etc. And you taking that to Sekhmet, rather than take up time talking about Sekhmet, we will, in the meet and greet, if anybody's interested, talk a little bit more about it. What I'd really like to do now, if that's okay by you, is we've got you, the showbiz person, we've got you, the, in parenthesis, inverted commas, the sort of spiritual esoteric person. But I want to go into now the author, the writer of this amazing book, its incredible title, and you've told me privately that you've gone through it all, the ups and the downs, and part of the book, it's not a book on magic to learn magic effects, it's a book about, dare I say it, how to be a human being and tap into the universe, and falling over and getting up. So you tell us about it while we pull up a picture of it. Okay. Let's pull up a nice big picture of it. There it is.
Yeah. Well, I just met a neighbor just up the road, and she read it, and she said it's good because life often doesn't give you what you want. You have this idea, and maybe you wanted a happy marriage, and maybe you don't get one, or maybe you wanted to be healthy and you're not, or maybe people die. Like, life isn't show business. Life is ups and downs. So I really wanted to be honest in this book, and one of the reasons why I really want to be honest in this book, I remember when I was writing it, it was the week that Daryl committed suicide at the Magic Castle, and I was so aware that as showbiz people, we're very much out there. You know, you think about Robin Williams and all the people like that. We're very much out there, and we're like da 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 da. And yeah, of course we suffer like everybody else. And I just wanted to call it, but also to say, to share. And like, I was 50 when I wrote that book, and I had learned so much. I'd learned how to be happier, you know, and really how to be happier is you just have to try a little bit. So, for example, I had this picture in my mind of, you know, when you're really unhappy, and imagine you're on a tree and it's got all branches, and you have somehow managed to get out along the furthest branch to the very thin end, and you're like, whoa, and you know, and there's a big drop beneath you. Now, you can't get down, right? If you were to get down, you don't want to go down the fast way, because that's not going to be good. So the only way to feel better and to get safer is to wriggle back a little bit, right? And you're like, then wriggle back a bit more, wriggle back a bit more. And then if you wriggle back a bit more, then you're on a better branch, and then you can maybe shin down the tree. And so I learned in my life, in times when it was very difficult, feel a little bit better. You know, i.e. put on some good music, have a bath, go for a walk, phone a friend, you know, do something that makes you happier. And when I was a young woman and very unhappy, basically I had an eating disorder. You can read all about that in the book. I had a pretty nasty eating disorder because I was always trying to be thin for show business, and I'm just not a naturally thin person. So when I was young and like I didn't know where to turn, I would look at all the books in the self-help book store, and they would just tell me the scientific nature of what I was doing, and then they'd said, and if you keep going, you're going to kill yourself. And I was like, oh. And it was upsetting. There wasn't one book that said try and feel a little better, not one book that said you can have a happy life. I've had a happy life, you can have a happy life too. It's a book that I needed to read, and I thought, I had never told anyone about my struggles with mental health and this eating disorder in my life. Maybe 5 people knew about it. I thought, I'm 50, I'm pretty healthy now, I'm over it. If this can help the younger generation, then I don't care what, you know, at the time I thought people would really dislike me for admitting all this. You know, we think people won't like us when we tell them our weaknesses. But what I found was everybody was absolutely kind. Everybody didn't mention it because they didn't want to offend me. And everybody said, oh, me too. I mean, not that, but they were like, oh, I've got issues with alcohol, or I've got mental health issues, or, you know, my husband's died and I'm very sad. We're all human. We've all got our struggles. And and the really sad thing that makes me absolutely determined to bring this book out into the world is so many people have said, that's my story too, but they're still keeping it secret because it's not acceptable, or it's deemed as not acceptable to talk about it. And I think you don't want to go on about your stuff all the time. That's boring. But to live in shame, as I had done, is really crap. Sorry, excuse me. It's really bad. And once I told my story, it lost its power. And what I found was I got absolutely better and healthier and healthy and happy once I just told my story. So that's why I want to get it into the world.
Well, I think it's remarkable on many, many counts for the reasons you've just said. People all over the world, and particularly now in these last several months, are going through all kinds of traumas.
Yeah.
So the book, in a way, the universe has kind of guided you to, it's a book for its time. This time, and show business people, and I don't care how much they don't admit it, we're probably more susceptible to swings of emotion. I'm not saying we're bipolar, well, some of us are, I guess, but I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that because of what we're doing, for example, in my humble opinion, one of the greatest problems show business people are facing today is not just money. Yes, of course, it's money. They can't pay the bills, etc. But it's not just that. There's something more. Particularly magicians, we don't have that drug of interplaying with the audience, of doing something with them, even if it's, you know, not, well, I need a volunteer to do a card trick or whatever. It's just that flow of energy of bringing that fourth wall down, and they see your magic. So I think your book is timely for people in all walks of life, irrespective of gender. Because if you hadn't had a down moment, at least one somewhere in your life, then there's something very wrong. Seriously, yeah. We'll talk about it in the meet and greet afterwards, but there's something that we're putting together at the SAM, etc., and other places where we want to create a kind of sanctuary for show business people. And I'm going to talk to a wonderful gentleman who's part of the SAM called John Midgley, and I know he's here, and he's a trained psychologist, but that's, for another conversation. But let's get back to your book. You told us what inspired you to do it. Where did you get the ideas from? Yes, I'm going to put this in. I'm going to talk about SecMed. I'm going to talk about that. And I'm going to reveal my soul, because that's what you did. You revealed your soul.
Yeah. You know what? It just went, it just came. So, for example, I was not expecting this. What it was one August, hot August. Now I'm English, so it wasn't probably that as hot as it is for all of you, but it was hot. And I was in my studio, and I remember I was working on the, the tassel sticks where you pull one.
Oh, yeah, right? Pom-pom sticks.
Right, pom-pom sticks. So I was doing this and doing this, and I was really grouchy because all my friends were on the beach, and I was seeing their Facebook posts going, "Oh, we're on the beach," and I was like, and I had a coaching session with a life coach. And I was really whingy. I was like, it's not fair. I have to stay in the practice. And he said, well, what would you be doing if you weren't doing magic? What would you rather be doing? And out of my mouth came these words, which I hadn't even thought about. I said, I'd rather be writing. I'd like to get up in the morning and I'd like to write all day. I was like, who said that? And he went, well, what's stopping you? And I said, well, no one's going to pay me to write. No one's interested in what I've written. And he said, how do you know? Anyway, then we carried on and I forgot about it. But this is the thing about magic. I think the words and the wish is spoken. Because then I cycled to the market to buy some vegetables. And as I cycled past a bookshop, there was a big book, not that book, a paperback book called Big Magic. Now, obviously, we're magicians. So and it was really brightly coloured. And it had like a buy me sign on it. Like, I just went in and bought it. I didn't even look through it. Bought my vegetables, went home, opened the book and didn't stop reading until 2 in the morning. And it's by Elizabeth Gilbert. It's brilliant. And it's about write your book, dance your dance, sing your song. What are you waiting for? You're not too old. You're not too fat. You're not too... Do it. The universe, the world needs what you have to do. So got up in the morning, made some coffee, 8 o'clock, and started writing. And I literally didn't stop for 5 months. I wrote all day, just had incredible numb bum all the time. That was the worst thing. But, and the weird thing was, and you think I'm crazy, but in the morning, and I'd normally get up about 8 like everyone else does, but in the morning, about 4 in the morning, I'd get woken up by this little voice in my head, I suppose, that said, come on, come and write. I'd be like, it's 4 in the morning. And it's like, come and write, come and write. So I got up really early and I'd get up and I'd light the incense. And I had my mother passed years ago, and she'd left me this beautiful antique chair. I'd sit in this antique chair, looking at my garden, looking at the statue of the Buddha. And I first of all, I would pray. I have a really eclectic mix of everybody I pray to, but I was like, let this help, let this help. And then I just wrote, and it just went, just crazy.
It can often happen that way because the universe, as you say, you pick up the pen, so to speak. I mean, I use keyboard, and the universe says, okay. Yeah. And guides your hand. My God, does that sound terribly metaphysical? No. It doesn't. It doesn't to me. It doesn't to me because I've done it. So go on, continue, because you.
So the reason, and I was writing my memoir. I wasn't going to put in about all my mental health stuff, but then Daryl died, and I was like, what's the use of a memoir? It's got to be useful. I can't gloss over this. So I thought, if this helps one person, I was very afraid. You remember, I mean, I hadn't told anyone, maybe 5 people, about my whole history of, anorexia and all that. I hadn't told anyone. And I just thought, if this helps one person. Oh, that was the other thing. I read a book by Caitlin Moran, and she said that she would go to book readings, and her books are mainly read by young women. And young women would come up and they'd either be very thin or very fat, or else they'd have long sleeves to cover their arms where they'd been cutting themselves. Mm. And that got me. I thought, I can't bear it. I can't bear a whole generation of young women going through the same mental torment that I went through. I can't bear it. So if I can do anything to help, I'm going to. And that was why. It still gets me. I'm like, I can't bear it, because we really can do something about it. But we, if we speak.
And I think that's terribly important, because some of my close friends know that it's not a religion. It's more a kind of following a philosophy, which is Taoism. And I know you are very akin to Buddhist thought, which is not that dissimilar, to be honest. Actually, if you look at all the good teachings and philosophies, they're pretty much the same. So I think it's good that you and I, and possibly other people, have this kind of nice eclectic mix, because it's all really the same thing. To move away from some of the problems that you spoke about and then overcame and put them in the book as a way of helping people, you kind of keep fit yourself, but in a whole totally different way. You climb mountains, you get a chainsaw and chop wood, and every now and again I'll hear about you putting boots on and trekking off for miles.
Every now and again, every week.
Yeah, I just get tired reading about what you do. And tell us about some of this offstage stuff that you do.
Well, I mean, also, so I have put on makeup for you, but I haven't worn it for like 7 months, which is like the silver lining of. So really, I've got the showbiz side, which is feathers and colour and makeup, and then I'm really down to earth side. So I got into boot camps and things as a way of keeping fit. I remember one person said, or a director said, to be on stage, you've really got to keep fit. If you can't sprint for 10 minutes, you've got no business being on stage. So there was that. But also, I made a rod for my own bat. I should have really created an act for me in a caftan, but I didn't. I made an act for me in this costume that if I'm not in shape, it doesn't fit. I mean,
right.
I don't know who it is now. Anyway, so I was always doing boot camps and that. And then I made friends with a guy that loved running up mountains and that. And I couldn't turn him down. He used to love taking me out, and he loved my dog. And I loved him in a sort of friendly way. And so I really like getting muddy, and I really like the outdoors. And now that I've moved to the Lake District, I'm living in the Lake District in England. Mm-hmm. There's nothing to do apart from climb mountains. And my husband he keeps making me go up a mountain. So we're all packed now. It's about nearly 10 o'clock. Tomorrow we're getting up at 6 o'clock, and we're going for a 9-hour hike up about 20 kilometers up and down these mountains. And it's really funny. I like being in the open air. I like the idea, but I am the grumpiest person. As I'm going up the mountain, I'm like...
I can just imagine you
going up a mountain.
You're too big. What do you call those things that you walk with? They're not walking sticks. What do you call them?
I've got them ready to go.
Oh yeah, what are they called? Trick sticks? I don't know. I have no idea. I never do this stuff. I have no idea.
They're really good. They push you up.
Yeah.
But when I'm down the other side, and we can hardly walk the next day, we both of us I really enjoy it, and then we make a plan for the next week.
Yeah. So tell the book. I want to come back to the book. You've given us kind of little hints of what's in it, etc. It's an autobiography, but it isn't. It's got a message as well. Now, if someone wanted this book and said, "Whoa, yeah, this is interesting. I'd like to get it," where can they go get it? Like now, Amazon, cool. For example.
Yeah, easy peasy. So it's everywhere in the world on Amazon. However, if you're down under New Zealand or Australia, I don't know, Cuba or somewhere where Amazon doesn't go very well, then a subsidiary of Amazon is Book Depository. And Book Depository will mail you this book for free all over the world.
How do they get to this Book Depository? Is it as simple as Google and type in? You tell us how it's done.
Yeah,
how
it's simple. Put in Book Depository, and then you put it into gold. Easy peasy.
That's it. Bookdepository.com or whatever. I don't
Literally
know.
Put in Book Depository. It probably is .com, but just put in Book Depository into Google. You'll go straight there.
And then
spun into gold.
And
then I've also spent a year making the audio book. So if you want me to read it to you, you can get that.
That'll be cool, wouldn't it? How cool is that? Yeah.
So that's on Audible, or cheaper on
Mhm.
Apple Books. So you can get it on either one.
So if you go to Apple Books,
Fun
people
and to
can put a
gold.
set of headphones on and just listen to you reading it.
Yeah, yeah,
It's very cool.
yeah.
I've never actually done that apart from once. I did that with David Niven, who I was a great fan of his, and I just listened to his audiobook, and I thought it was very cool. Now I'm going to do it with yours, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So where did they get that again? Say it again, real slow for our.
So the book is Spun into Gold: The
Yes.
Secret Life of a Female Magician,
Right.
and that is on Amazon, wherever you are. And that will also bring up Audible, if you're a member of Audible. If you're not a member of Audible, I mean, you can buy it there, but it is cheaper on Apple Books. And again, you go to Apple Books and Spun into Gold.
Okay, as simple as that. So if you want the audio version of, if I was running up a mountain for 9 hours and I wanted to listen to something, I would plug
Or
that
if you've
in.
got a long drive, it's great.
Yeah.
I listen to audiobooks all the time.
Yeah, that's how it can be done. Well, I think it's amazing, and the time is just kind of like just spun by. Before we know it, it's just gone 10 o'clock, and I know you got to be up at 6 o'clock in the morning. And I know there's a lot of people who want to talk to you, and we want to go into the meet and greet. And there's so much of you that I haven't left out. I just couldn't possibly cover. I just want to do kind of little snippets, Penn and Teller or whatever. I was hoping to give you a wonderful surprise when we got to the segment section, and she did say to me she'd be here, and I don't know if she is. I would have been alerted if she was, and that would be dear Samina. So obviously she's on a canal boat. That's a little private joke between us. Yes, singing our heart out in Venice. But I did speak with her, and she said, "Yeah, absolutely, absolutely," and she was going to do it, and we'd worked out how to surprise you, but for whatever reason, hey, life happens, as they say. So no problem. I'm sure she'll get to see the clip, which I mentioned before, goes on the showcase that we have, and Tim Wise, who's a very, very dear friend of ours, is also a member of the International Assembly, has also kindly started to put it up on Abra TV to get it to an even bigger audience. Speaking of which, I think you know Tim, right?
Yeah. He was around at the competition in Las Vegas.
Why don't we let him tell you?
Oh.
So, where are you, Tim? Hey, Tim. Good to see you, buddy.
How are you, darling? It's nice to see
your
smiling face.
Where's your hair gone?
Yeah, it's here. It's here.
Okay, good.
All right. I didn't remove it. Yes, I was there at the competition, and we had lunch together. That was the first time we really connected, and through McBride and the mystery school. I'm just gonna, because I don't want to take up too much of your time. I was just making notes as you were speaking. And we are all kindred in this. And I just want to read the words. Feel a little better, mystery school, honesty, improvisation, manifesting, visualization, belief, ritual, Errol, this magical priestess that we lost a few years ago, but a wonderful person, intention. And one of the things that you said, which is this, that you motivated other people because of the mutual understanding of the struggle. Right? You didn't have any, nobody thought, there was no shame involved. It was all understanding of the mutual understanding of the struggle, even though people may not be able to speak it.
Right.
They have it.
Of course.
And then also the wonderful thing about intention, meaning that if you set the intention and let everybody know where you're going, then they're going to help you get there, even if it's metaphysical. So you're a delight. You are a delight. And everybody here should be very grateful that you took the time today, as I am. So it's very nice to see you.
Well, that makes two of us, as you know.
It's so nice to see you, Tim.
Yeah, and here's the book. You have to get this book.
You've got the VIP version.
Yes, I got this from Mr. McBride. I got this through Mystery School, and but it's not autographed, sadly. So I might have to send it to you so you can send it back.
Hey, we have to meet up for lunch after this is all over, and then I'll sign it.
Perfect. Well, thank you for the time today, Anthony, and
not at all, Tim. Thank you for
and we're going to connect more. So thank you.
Right.
Good to see you.
Okay.
Absolutely. Tim and I have got a couple of surprises planned for you down the line as well. But
Oh.
we'll do that private. We'll do that
Christmas.
private. We'll do that privately. Yeah. You've been manifesting again. We're just told what to do for you, right,
I'm just
Tim?
like a cottage in the Lake District, and I'm connecting with the world and Vegas. How amazing!
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Well, I'm kind of sad that Samina couldn't make it because we really had this little thing to do about segment. But anyway, here we are. Now, before we go into the meet and greet section, I have to ask you if there's anything that you particularly want to say that perhaps, well, no, there's a lot we haven't covered, obviously, but is there something you want to say or re-say?
I wanted to share with you. I think I told you already. Well, you'll know because you follow me on social media. So obviously, we've all stopped working. I didn't feel like doing a Zoom show at the moment. It just didn't come to me. But a month ago, I thought, hold on. This is the perfect timing. I've got all the time in the world now. There's nothing I have to do. This is perfect timing for me to put the work into promoting the book that I didn't have time before. I put all the work into writing it and editing and promote and publishing it. And I didn't do the end of it. And it came to me the idea of, what about if I magically do an amazing magic trick with this? If I magically manifest 1 million+ readers, with the vision that everyone struggling with the eating disorder, with anxiety, with mental health, or who thinks that their dream is out of their reach, that they'll read my book, know they're not alone, and be comforted and inspired to keep going in the direction of their dreams. Wouldn't that be amazing? I was like, yeah. And I suddenly got fired up like I haven't done for years. Now, 1 million is just a big impossible number because as magicians, we like to do impossible things. If it was like 1,000, that wouldn't be exciting. And so I decided that I would commit to acting every day, because you know that if you're going in the direction of your dreams, you can't just think about it, you've got to act. I would commit to action Monday to Friday, daily, and write that down in a blog for a magical year and a day. If it didn't work, fine, but I was going to do this. And I started on the 1st of September, and I've given myself a more than busy full-time job, and it's been really good because I've given myself something to do and a deadline. I've really enjoyed it. And today, just to show you that things happen, like nothing was really happening. I think I sold 20 books in September, 2 last week. And I was getting a bit like, this is hard work. Then today, the lovely Dr. Anthony Darkstone Brooks has got me on here. A 6,000 strong group of cruisers, the Seabourn Sailors, highlighted me and plugged the book. And then also a doctor coach I know has sent the book out saying that she loves it to 120,000 of her clients. So something is happening and it's early days. And so I want to do this. And when I've done it, then I can tell the story that if you set your mind on something and you use magical thinking and you work towards it and you collaborate with other people, you can do anything you put your mind on. So that's what I'm doing. And I'm so excited. My poor husband, I keep going on about it all the time. I'm going to have to shut up because, you know, he's getting crazy after 5 weeks. But I'm so excited about it. And it's not the money, because if I made the money on the books, I can think of 1,000 ways to give it away. But it's more that all these people are gonna be cheered up, which right now we need. So I'm very excited.
Like I said, that's part of something that Tim and I had spoken about just a couple of days ago, actually, because he and I often have chats about different things. And yeah, we have a little thing in mind for Abra TV and something else, where we want to just talk about the book. And I knew the content, and so did Tim, and we're trying to do a kind of a project called "What's Your Life Worth" type thing. Well, I'll tell you all the details. I don't want to bore the rest of the audience, so let's just do it. You've manifested it. These two guys turned up to help you, right? It's the old story. It's the monk. This is my favorite analogy, as Tim will tell you. It's the monk with the wooden bowl that people put rice into. If the monk ain't got the bowl, he's not eating. So the monk has a job. The job is take the bowl with you. Because if you don't have the bowl, then people are now going to come up and go, hey, let me give you some rice, you poor monk. Yeah, have the bowl. People see the bowl, they fill it with rice. So that's my analogy.
Yeah.
Well, before we jump into the meet and greet and chat, what I'd like to do, in fact, is obviously give a big shout out to, and it's a kind of private joke, but it's a good one because he takes care of all the stuff. And that's dear Brett Saul, who we always say rides shotgun with a 30-30. I mean, he lets people into the room, takes care. Obviously, thank Tim, who will stay and chat with us in the meet and greet, and of course to most illustrious Dr. Joel for captaining the ship and taking care of all of the Zoom stuff and getting the stills up in time and all that. It looks like it's kind of going smooth, but all of you in the business know if you didn't get all the right things and the right people doing the right things at the right time, then it ain't gonna happen. I just want to say a quick shout out to all the SAM members. I've known young Jason forever, and as you may recall, he was on that talk show as one of my guests that we spoke about in the beginning. And I'm delighted to tell you that I've written a cover feature on him, which I believe will be coming out in November. If so the editor of MUM tells me on Jason in MUM, so we're looking forward to that. And I've known him for but anyway, enough of that. Just because you mentioned about Jason, and we'll get a copy of that article to you. You got to, because I know you and Jason are very fond of each other and that sort of thing. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's my thanks to I can't call them the crew. They're just my buddies who help. What can I say? So huge thanks of course to I can't possibly acknowledge everybody, but if you're in the meet and greet, we'll chat, I'm sure, to Remar Sarip from Portugal, Aslan Tunzla from Turkey, Elmo from Finland, people all over the place, and of course all our pals in the SAM, the Magic Circle, and Tony Jr. He's a great guy. He's a member of our International Assembly, and he sends out posts to different places in Newcastle, Magic Club, etc. So that's my thanks personally and professionally to everybody. And I think if it's okay, we'll just put the mics on and the chat. Feel free to talk directly to Romany, either with the chat if you don't want to speak on the mic, because I know some folks prefer to write in English as opposed to speak it, and that's fine. I'll just read it out. But if you want to talk about it or a bit more about the Sekhmet Temple, we will share that with you as well.
Hello, Romany. It's Tony Jr. from the Newcastle Magic Circle. I just wanted to say hi. We've spoke so much time over the years. I've tried to book you for our annual dinner, and one day we're going to get you. One day we're going to be able to get you, and I hope we can nab you for our next year's annual dinner, because this one's not going ahead for some reason. Apparently there's some virus worldwide that's happening. But that was a great interview tonight. You're an inspiration, and what's nice about it is all the hard times you went through. I think many of us didn't realise that you did to get where you're at. So congratulations on your perseverance.
I was waving my feathers. No one noticed.
But it was lovely listening to you tonight, and I promise you we're going to get you for our dinner one day.
Good. And now I live up north. You're not so far away now. So because I used to live in Brighton, so now I'm living in the Lake District, so quite near.
Lake District.
You're in the Lake.
Yeah.
You're in the Lake District.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh, you shouldn't have told me that, Romany. You shouldn't have told me that. Because yes, when we're
back off with travel, couldn't I?
I'll be getting you to our club. Never mind the annual dinner.
I'll have to remember how to do some magic. I haven't done any for 7 months. Yeah.
I think that's all of us.
Forget the magic. Just go sit in the club and talk about the book.
Yeah,
I'm sure they'll be fascinated. They see magic all the time, But this is
magic.
sit and let them talk about the book and ask you questions. Speaking of questions, Tony Jr. is a member of our SAM International Assembly, and we have several members here watching. I know because I had a quick look earlier on. We have one gentleman here, it's a good pal of mine, absolutely wonderful pal of mine, who is, amongst other things, a magician, AIMC at the Magic Circle, a great Tai Chi teacher, and everything else. And I think he wants to say a few words, and that's, of course, dear Paul Abbey. Paul, you're on.
Hey there, Romany. How you doing?
Oh, hi, Paul. How are you?
I had to come and see you tonight, talking about your book. I was a bit late because I got stuck out in the rain. What's it like up there?
Oh, raining.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. I love it. It's really nice. Yeah.
I absolutely love your cottage, and it's just glorious. It's a dream place that I'd love to move to eventually. I want to try and get back to West Sussex, though, so I'm going to go back the other way. But you know, your stories about the sheep and all the country and everything around it is just absolutely glorious.
It just goes to show. So I had this lovely house in Brighton, and I had my magic theatre. It's in the book, and I had to destroy it in March because of COVID.
Oh.
I know,
Oh.
yeah, but it was terrible, and I had a week where I knew that I couldn't afford to keep the house, so I had to destroy the theatre and the magic workshop. However, there's always a silver lining. I got here, and it's beautiful, and I've got a little spare room, and that can be a little magic theatre, and in the future I can make another magic theatre, but it's just great. So I'm really into silver linings at the moment. I think this is really important at the moment.
Yeah.
It's tricky at the moment, right? But you got to look for the silver lining. And
it's funny that, because what you said about the book is what's happened to me. Is, I teach over here at the college up in London, and it's really pushed me to actually get my teaching online. So, like you with your book, it's kind of really, some of it has spurred us, hasn't it, to rethink, be a bit more creative.
Yeah, I know that I sat around for about 6 months going, I was just walking around, not really knowing what I was doing, thinking it was going to come back. And then I thought, actually, let's do something. I think it doesn't matter what you do, but do something. Because I found when I gave myself a project, no one cares whether I sell this book or not. It doesn't matter to anyone else. When I gave myself a project and I got busy and I gave myself deadlines and then I was collaborating with other people, I suddenly got a lot happier. It's a really good tip. If you haven't got anything to do, find something to do.
Well, there's a gentleman I've known for many, many, many years, and a really a dear friend from Houston, Texas, and we occasionally hang out, and I've had him guest on different shows. I might, if I can afford him, bring him on the Darkstone Dossiers at some stage. We actually pay people like 50 cents even to come on here. No, seriously, you will know the name. You'll just know this guy's name immediately. A really good buddy of mine. And I just want to acknowledge him because I know he wants to say a few words, and that is Scott Wells.
Hey, pal. Thanks very much. Hey, Tony.
Hey, buddy.
Thanks for hosting this today. And Romany, it's been wonderful. I just wanted to jump in here for just a moment to tell everyone I really recommend, if you're going to buy the book, it's great. I have been listening to the Audible portion of this. She sent me a copy of that, and so as I've been out walking in the mornings, I walk around for an hour or so, and I've been listening to a few chapters then each day, and it's just wonderful. And to hear her story in her own voice, it's nothing better than the author to hear speaking, because it's coming from the person's soul. And so, Romany, I just have to congratulate you. It's just, I was going to say a marvelous read, but it's a marvelous listen.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. That's amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you.
We have Aslan Tuncer from Turkey who would like to say a few words. Aslan, you have the spotlight.
If possible. Yes, if possible. Romany, first of all, may I compliment on your English? It is very easy to listen. I wish you use it on the stage as well, not for personal chatting. It will be wonderful to listen you on the stage as well. Maybe telling a story, something like that. I would like to have your opinion about why the number of female magicians is far more less than that of male magicians.
Why there's less females than males magicians? Yes. Yeah. I think one answer is, and I think it's different for different generations. So for my generation, there wasn't any role models. So there was Paul Daniels, a little girl wanting to be in show business was you could be a ballerina or you could be an actress or a dancer. I'd never seen a female magician. That's it.
We
So-
are from the same generation, I think, more or less. But as far as I remember, for example, there was Melinda. She was a superstar.
Yeah, but not in England. I never saw Melinda. So the only time I knew about
In
Melinda.
Turkey as well.
Yeah, so I never saw Melinda. The only time I knew about Melinda was when I first went to Vegas when I was already 30 years old and I was already starting. So she didn't get on British television, Melinda didn't. So there was no role models. So there wasn't many magicians left. There was Paul Daniels.
No,
So
I think it's also fair to say, I mean, it's all changed now, obviously, but, back in the day, the Magic Circle also wouldn't admit females. You had Billy's wife, dear Dr. Billy McComb, as you know, June Merlin. She's brilliant, as most people know. All these things, but like you said, Romany, it's a generational thing, and they all change, and things come forward, and there's some remarkable young women out there now doing the most astonishing things. I mean, it's just incredible, So, yeah, there was that side to it. Is there anybody else who needs to speak with Romany or ask a question or something on here, real quick?
I'd like to.
Oh, Rod. Hey, Rod.
Hey.
Hi, Romany.
Hi.
Rod Chow, National First Vice President of the Society of American Magicians. Ooh. And just want to thank you for coming on board here with Anthony. It was such a wonderful talk you had, and you're so positive. Like, just watching you, it's so just so delightful throughout the whole thing. And it's just really, really wonderful to see you and watch you. And your act at the beginning, I was so impressed by it too. Like comedy, but also very artistic. And then when Tim Wise summarized all those key points, I thought, yes, those were the points. You actually went through all that, and those are the points.
Good, wasn't he? He was listening.
Yeah, for sure. And then definitely want you to get the book, and I'll get the book to learn more about those things, because what you say applies to anyone. Like, this power that we all have inside of us, we just have to harness it and then
it really
put it
is
the way you do, right?
Yeah, we've got a choice, haven't we, all the time, where you can either feel unhappy, and we all do feel unhappy. You can't just say feel happy, and it's interesting because I had to think about that, because in the book I wanted to get people to feel happy, but my mother-in-law, she said, look, in life there's some things that you can't change. People's children die, people are ill, and you can't say just feel happy. And she reminded me of that prayer. I think it's the Alcoholics Prayer, or Lord, help me to accept the things I can change, and the things I can't, and the things I can't change.
Francis of Assisi.
Right.
That was the original. Yeah.
And so I remember putting that in, because it made me think, look, there are times when we are sad, and that is life. But I did want to share about how to feel a little happier, because that really helped me. Just this technique of feel a little bit happier, a little bit happier. The teaching is you can't get there from here. You can't get to happy from unhappy. You just have to feel a little bit happier. And that was an important message that I really wanted to share, especially with young people, but everyone really. And I have to remind myself as well.
Every month I read the Alan Watson column. You're in there all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So many adventures. How do you have so many adventures? Wow.
They just happened to me.
Yeah.
It just happened to me. It's crazy. It's just crazy. It's good though. I like it. And like today, for example, the adventure today, can you imagine? So I was so excited because this health doctor who's got all these 120,000 women, she's got a whole mail list, and she said, I'm going to help you promote your book. And I was so excited, but I was expecting the email to go out on Tuesday. So I thought, okay, I've got all this time to get my website set up and the ebook ready on my website. Great. And I've got someone helping me. But then this morning I noticed that the email had dropped already. And I was like, so when I, to try and get the website ready for when everyone looks at it. And today was so exciting because of that. Now we failed. Doesn't matter, because everyone can find it on Amazon. And then tomorrow going up a mountain. It just always happens to be an adventure. But I quite like that. Because life can be short, so it's like, right, have adventures,
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I want to get an autographed copy of your book, personally autographed. How do we do that?
Right. That's right. At the moment, if anyone can think of how to do that, because the thing is, when I first wrote it, I had a GoFundMe fund. And so I would send out autographed books, but when I sent them to America, so many got lost. And I remember John Tudor, John Tudor? He's a great magician, friend of mine. And I sent him one book, didn't get it. Sent him another book, and now it's getting expensive. And then I gave up posting books. But maybe, for example, I've got postcards. Maybe if I wrote something in the postcards and sent, or put that on my website, and you could download it and paste it in the book. I don't know. If anyone comes up with a good idea, I'm open for suggestions.
Well,
But easy.
there's a lot of clever tech guys, as I call them. I don't know squat about any of that.
I know nothing about tech.
Maybe neither. There's a lot of clever people on here. I know John Midgley, for example. I have to give him a shout out. Back in the day, I did a filmed interview with Mandy Davis and then President Jack Delvin, and the fire alarm went off. We then had to continue it after we went out in the street and then come back. It was a drill. There was not really a fire at the circle. So we went up into the event room and continued it. It wasn't until we played it we realized there was a ton of background noise, people talking. So shout out to John Midgley. I put this up, I can't remember why, and said, if there's any smart person out there, and I can do that. So he took it and he cleaned it up. So John might have some ideas. I don't know. But there's a lot of smart guys up here who can do that.
And likewise, if you've got any ideas about other ways that I can get this book to 1 million people plus, and just, my email is romany@romanymagic.com. And my website, romanymagic.com. So you can find me all over social media.
Okay. I've got a message here from PJ, who is another very, very good friend of ours over in Houston. PJ says, every day I wake up planning to have the best day.
Yeah.
We have a choice. Thanks for sharing your positivity. Sorry, no mic today. Okay.
Can I chime in on that? Because I've got a technique. I used to wake up, as I told you, for lots of reasons. I had a thing about my weight. So I'd wake up in the morning and I would wake up and go, and I would say an expletive and go, or I'm fat or whatever. And I would wake up thinking that, and that would ruin my day. And then I got a technique. So you wake up in the morning, and if it's a habit, you might wake up and go, oh God. But then you shut your eyes again and you go and you snuggle back under the covers. So you go back under the covers and then you do a thing. You go, oh, I've got a great pillow. I love these sheets. And then you go through things. It's like, oh, my eyes work. I've got hair. Oh, I haven't got hair. The sun's come up. And you just go through really mundane things and realize it's great that you're alive. The sun's come up. You've got a bed. You've got sheets. Your fingers work. And you do that for as long as it takes to feel good. And that's when you get out of bed. And you don't get out of bed until you've got to that point, because you've got to get to a certain level of feeling good. Because if you don't, your day is going to be rubbish. So I do that most mornings.
Well, I think I'm going to interrupt you for a little bit, because I know Most Illustrious has got to take off, and he's put a message in there. He may have taken off already. Are you still here, Most Illustrious, or have you gone? He's gone. Okay. No, he just wanted to say he's got to take off. He did say this earlier on that he needs to take off, but we're fine. We can stay here and chat. We got Brett taking care of everything. So he said, thank you, Anthony and Romany, for a phenomenal talk. So that was from our Most Illustrious, the SAM president, because I know he has a couple of family commitments he needed to go to, but we've got Brett, as usual, riding shotgun, and so that's good. So is there anybody who would like to talk about anything else, or do you want us to tell?
Anthony, this is Tim again.
Yeah, go ahead.
A couple more on my list as I've been listening and paying attention, but as all we should. You just talked about waking up in the morning and basically finding gratitude first. And so just add that to the list. Gratitude, year and a day, which gives you time to process. You never make a decision immediately, allow things to happen. So, and I want to also mention that I witnessed that convention performance where the gentleman came up winded. And I think that the entire audience saw you in in a very difficult situation, right? As a performer, when you have someone, I've had people pass out in my shows and things. And so, you know, you're challenged in that moment to, what am I going to do? And I think even though it was comedy and that's where you were, I think the respect came that you were able to handle it without a hitch. I mean, really, you pulled it off and it was beautiful. I mean, it was a beautiful thing to witness. And so I just want to emphasize, put a stamp on that and emphasize that that is you, right? It's you. You came out.
Okay, yeah. Well, you know, I was feeling really bad about the guy. And really, of course, we all care about our stage shows, but if someone comes up and they're ill, who cares about their stage show?
Compassion, right?
It's ridiculous. It's, you know, so, yeah, it's them first, right? Of course. You know,
Yes.
but it was funny. I remember walking off going, oh my God, I've won. You know, because it was, you know, not to be vain, but it was just so funny. It was just like, it was crazy. It's like,
well, anyone there that witnessed a professional, but really just in the moment was able to respond in the moment. And so,
you know what though, it was really fun. I don't know if you remember this, it was a long time ago. So of course there was this rule that you couldn't have any fire. And so my favorite trick is flash to diamonds. So I knew I couldn't do that. And so when I went out there, first of all, I said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm terribly sorry to announce that I will not be opening with my world famous production of 14 Brazilian busty beauties from a flaming ring. So, and then the whole audience went, oh. So already it was sort of, and you know, and then I said, and then when I show you a piece of string, could you please imagine it bursts into flames and applaud accordingly? And this whole audience, when I went like that, and then just dropped the magic, the diamonds, obviously no magic, they went, "Ray!" So it was quite funny, really. It was
right. And also working in the constraints, but yet making magic out of it. Right?
Yeah.
Spinning it into gold, right? I mean, in alchemy, we talk about turning our lead into gold. So you turn that moment into magic.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. It's fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or as you and I, Tim, often joke, you know, anybody can do that. The real magic is when you turn gold into lead. You know, have you seen copper? Have you seen the price of copper nowadays? Yeah. No, we've had that conversation, Tim. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else that wants to say a few words directly to Romany? Oh, wow. Debbie's here from Atlanta. Great. Oh, nice to see you, Debbie. And Gene Brothers from Houston. God, we got nice, good buddies from Houston showing up. Yeah. Okay. Now we're in the kind of, you know, chat side. Most people have actually left. So if you want to chat a little bit, we have a few minutes. So go right ahead.
Well, I'll say something because that's what I have been doing. Great to see everybody on here. I see Paul, Scott Wells, all our friends in magic. So many people. Harriet, nice to see you, darling. This is what the brother and sisterhood of magic is about. I'm so grateful that you took your time today. You are an inspiration, and so I'm going to say it again and again. But thank you. It's great to see your face.
Yeah, great.
Would anybody interested in a very, very fast pricey version of the Sekhmet Temple? If you are, I'll tell it to you, and Romany will too. If not, we'll just kind of skip it. Anyway, there's Robin Pierce is saying something, but I don't hear you.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, you would? Okay. This is the story I got from our mutual friend, Samina Ocean. What happened was, apparently there was a lady who went to the Sekhmet Temple in Egypt. And you may have to Google this. All I can tell you, it sounds bizarre, but it's not. It's an Egyptian goddess with the head of a lioness. It sounds bizarre in the telling, but it really isn't. Google it and you'll see what I mean. Anyway, she goes to the temple.
Read it in the book. It's all
you know it. Okay. So the lady couldn't conceive, so she made a prayer offering to, and this is what Romney was talking about earlier on, you know, manifesting things. That she would make some kind of a dedication if she did conceive. Well, the short story is she did come back to the U.S. She did conceive, and she kept her promise. She went up to Shoshoneland, which is, well, we call them cousins because some of you will know on my mother's side I'm Native American. But anyway, the Shoshone people, and she bought some land off of them and made this temple that you saw in the photograph as a dedication. And then, of course, there's the backstory and people who look after it and run it. And it's changed a bit now. And then the lady was so nice that she actually gave the land back to the Shoshone people who own it. So technically, they still own the land, but that's the short story on it. And it's about 26 miles as the crow flies off the strip there and that sort of thing. Yeah.
Anthony, there's an irony there, though. It's in Indian Springs, Nevada, Indian Springs. And
That's
it's
right.
directly across the street from the Creech Air Force Base where they launch drones. And so there's this, in fact, one of the fire circles we were at, they were observing us around the fire at Sekhmet from the air. But there's an irony there because of the sanctity and the beauty of Sekhmet and the temple in the space. And then we have this military kind of dynamic directly across the street, kind of counterbalancing.
I know. Yeah,
So
yeah, it's terrible. But the last time I was there, well, you know I'm talking about my brother from a different mother, Christian Diamond, and there was Luna Shimada with her wolves, and there was Samina and some other lady whose name I can't recall. She was a Comanche drummer, and then we all had some kind of session there. But that's a private story over tea or something stronger. But you know, it's a cool place and it's a great place, and if you ever get a chance, go visit it. That's all I could say.
And Anthony, I just want to add, so that woman that did that, she's in here, and she's called Genevieve Vaughan. And I got in touch with her, and I told her that I was writing this book and that I was putting her story in the book, and she read it, and so we're in touch. So
Fantastic. I had no idea. See, that's another reason to buy the book. Go get it. Yeah. That's another. Oh, wonderful. How wonderful. Because, yes, you do have a bit about Sekhmet and your thing. Let's not destroy the ending or the movie, shall we say? Yes. Just buy the book. Read it. Yeah, it's all going to be good stuff. Okay. Olimar Sarip from Portugal says, thank you, Anthony and Romany, for the excellent night. You're very, very welcome. You're very welcome.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, indeed. Anybody, well, another member of our International Assembly. And by the way, if you want to join the International Assembly, get in touch with me. I'm fairly easy to find, or Tim or somebody. Scott Wells is a member of it. There's a few people here. Very, very kind. Anyway, I think we're coming to that kind of time now where we're really going to have to wrap up. So unless you have an urgent question.
That's what I was going to say, Anthony.
Yes.
So, you know, on Facebook, they have this silly rule on your friends page that you can only have 5,000 people. So I'm at that limit. So if you'd like to follow me on social media, don't bother with the Romany because I can't accept you as a friend anymore, but just go to my page, which is Facebook Diva of Magic. You can look for Romany, but it's Diva of Magic, and then like that. And I'm putting everything on there now. So if I don't accept your friendship, it's not personal. It's just that I'm over the limit. So
for Facebook, it is so that our editor can put it up on the screen.
Diva
of Magic. That's it.
And Instagram, which I must get on more, is Magic Romany on Instagram.
That's original. I know. It's silly. You got to keep finding these little catch things. You know, I don't know why they do that. Okay. Yeah. Well, Scott Wells just put it up in chat. Thank you, Scott. Tim says, bravo to everybody. Absolutely. Well, you're welcome. Tim and I, I'll be getting in touch with you on a couple of things that Tim and I want to do and which you're going to figure in, Romany. Okay?
I know.
Well, hopefully you'll figure in it. Well, I'm sure you'll see
I just want to thank you, Anthony, because I have so enjoyed this evening. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
You know how we love show business. I haven't done any show business for 7 months, and this is like, this is what we love about it. Our brothers and sisters in magic and show business.
Right.
And it's because we're all entertainers, and it's fantastic. So thank you so much. And thank you so much for helping me share the book as well.
You're so very welcome. And I'll just say again, thank you for making the time to come on and, talk to us a little bit about your amazing life and, share the book, obviously. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think we've come to that point. If we really, really don't have anything that we need to say, we need to wrap, as they say. And I'm hungry. I never eat before a show for hours and hours, even if it's a Zoom show and I'm sitting down. Just a habit. 50 years.
Well, bon appetit, Antoine.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Enjoy your climb up the mountains. Thank you all for being here. And we will post the recording afterwards. So if you want to relive the moment or think, oh, I missed that, what did she say? It's always there on all the SAM pages, on the Anthony Darkstone Magic Chronicles, and it will be on the Diva of Magic, the link. So you can go to any one of those places and take a look. Okay. Well, thank you again, Romany. Fantastic. Enjoy your hike up the mountain or mountains.
Thank you so much, and thank you to everybody. Yes. And that's, so imagine me up tomorrow. This is literally what I do. I'm going up the mountain. I don't like it. And so I go, what am I delighted by? I'm delighted by my boots. I'm delighted by the food in my pack. I'm delighted by I have hair. So think of me tomorrow going up a mountain.
Yeah, I can do that bit. I'm delighted I have hair. There it is. You can't see.
But for all the people who don't have hair, who have complained in the past when I say this, be delighted you don't have hair. Be delighted by anything.
Well, on that happy note, you lovely, lovely lady, you wonderful diva of magic, thank you so much for sharing your onstage character, your offstage character, and most of all, parts of your soul. What a blessing it has been. Thank you so much. Very much appreciated. Thank you, everybody.